We talked about programs on the rise earlier this week. Now let's go the other way. Programs on the decline. Hey, how are you, folks? Jason Horowitz. Glad to be with you here on CBSSports.com. Believe it or not, college basketball is right around the corner. Midnight Madness is right at the end of this week, and then we'll have all those preseason tournaments get going in just about 2 or 3 weeks. Let's bring in CBSSports.com's college basketball columnist Gary Parrish to talk about some of these programs that may be in for tough sledding for a few years. And Gary, I want to start with a team that has been on the rise ever since Rick Pitino got there, and that's Louisville. But with his tumultuous offseason, a couple of players this week getting arrested in the state of Indiana, is this bad times for Louisville?
Well, I mean, it's certainly been rough. I mean, there's no getting around it, and you can't spin it into a good thing. But I'm not really to bury Rick Pitino yet in terms of his coaching career. I mean, he's still a Hall of Famer, and here's the key. They're still getting players. I mean, they've got 3 commitments from the class of 2011. So that's that's juniors in high school right now, headlined by a kid named Michael Chandler, who is considered the #2 center in the country in his class. Also, probably going to get Jeff Teague's little brother. It seems to be headed that way, who was arguably the best guard in that class. So, look, you get the best 1 or 2 best centers in the class of 2011. Plus Marcus Teague, I mean, you're not going anywhere. I mean, you've got 2 pros into your program. And so, though it has been a really wild offseason for them, first with the allegations against Rick Pitino, and then with the arrest over the weekend of Terrence Jennings and Jerry Smith, it's been rough. But again, I'm not going to count out Rick Pitino as a basketball coach or with the recruits he's got coming in. Yeah,
it's maybe you don't expect 31-6 in a trip to the Elite Eight like last year, but you never know with Rick Pitino. All right, so that's a team that was very successful last year. Your program's on the decline, with the exception of one, were not successful last year and probably haven't been for a couple of years. Who are you looking at?
Well, some of the schools are DePaul, UAB, Oregon, Iowa, Binghamton for obvious reasons of what's going on over there the past month or so. And then another one is Charlotte. And maybe this is because, before I was at CBS, I covered a Conference USA school, and I was familiar with Charlotte when they were there. And that was one of the, not just a good program, it was on par with Rick Pitino's Louisville Cardinals, Bob Huggins' Cincinnati Bearcats, John Calipari's Memphis Tigers. I mean, this is a school that made 5 NCAA tournaments in Bobby Lutz's first 7 years. It's a high-level basketball program, and then they go to the A-10, and it's been pretty awful ever since. I mean, they've only won 20 games in one season since they've been in the A-10, no NCAA tournament appearances. And, I just asked this question. When is the last time anybody outside of Charlotte thought about Charlotte? I mean, to me, it is the decline of all declines because, again, this was Bob Huggins' Bearcats, Calipari's Tigers, Pitino's Cardinals, and Lutz's 49ers. I mean, and they belong together, and they all were in that group, and yet while the other, the 3 coaches have gone on to do great things, Bobby Lutz is struggling at Charlotte to hold on to his job.
And he's still struggling in that conference, or in the Atlantic 10 now, I should say, while the others are in the Big East. Garrett, you have Binghamton on that list, and it's weird to talk about a program like that, which has only been in Division I for less than 10 years. Made the tournament last year. Now 6 guys have been kicked off the team. They're not allowed to recruit. There's all kinds of problems going on. Is it possible we've seen the end of Binghamton basketball for good?
I think not just possible, but probable. It's over. I mean, this is a school that, keep in mind, there was the faculty didn't necessarily want to get involved in what is considered big-time college basketball, Division I basketball. They said, look, that's not what we're about. But the AD and the president went ahead and did it anyway. Now it has blown up in their faces in a pretty magnificent way. And if you're going to succeed at a school that is so young in terms of its Division I experience, and then that has academic standards unusual to other schools, I mean, you've got to be able to bend it here and break it there, and bring guys in who maybe couldn't necessarily cut it at UMass or Syracuse or places like that. Well, they did that, and it has collapsed on them. Now Kevin Brodus is in a situation where he's not even allowed off campus to recruit. His career is over. Binghamton basketball, as we knew it last year, is over. And it's just a matter of when they pull the trigger on Brodus. But there's no way to get this turned around now. The odds are too much stacked against him, and his name has been sullied too much. I mean, I think you nailed it. It is over for basketball at Binghamton. And you know what? Maybe that's good for Binghamton.
Maybe. It's like the death sentence that they gave SMU back in the 80s as well. We'll see what happens if they can ever recover from that as well. Gary Parrish, look forward to continuing our countdown to tip-off coverage. We'll talk to you soon, bud.
Thanks, Jason.
All right, folks, for more more on this story and everything else going on here in terms of Gary's programs on the decline, stay with CBSSports.com. For Gary Parrish, I'm Jason Horowitz. Take care, folks.